Today on Kitchen Alchemy, I'm going to turn this into this. We've all heard the quote, "Let food be thy medicine," or "all disease begins in the gut." Hippocrates never actually said those exact words, but when you read what he did say, his writings, you realize that's exactly what he meant. So today, we're taking one of his favorite ingredients, lentils, and transforming them into something entirely new. A soft golden loaf that bridges the ancient and the modern. First, we need to soak 1 cup of dry red lentils for at least 8 hours so we can turn them into our bread. Our lentil bread ingredients are ready, so my 1 cup of dry lentils turned into 2 cups once it's soaked overnight. We have a half cup of yogurt, plain yogurt. I'm using my homemade CD yogurt for this. 2 eggs, 1 tablespoon of vinegar. This is apple cider vinegar, but you can use whatever kind you like. This is 1 tablespoon of honey. 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, and then 1 teaspoon each of salt and baking soda. Of course, the ancient Greeks would have used wheat probably, or a grain, to make bread. They ate a lot of lentils, but they would not have used lentils for bread. In a moment, I'll be going over the difference between the ancient grains and our modern ones, and why I am using lentils instead of grains to make bread. I'm just putting all of our ingredients in here. You could add some other herbs if you liked, fresh herbs in here, but I'm just going to go basic and make a basic lentil bread. The Greeks also wouldn't have had baking soda. I'm using that modern leavening technique. They probably would have made more of a sourdough. A lot of their breads were more flatbreads, but if they were going to have something that rose at all, it would have been more like a sourdough where they're using the wild yeast and bacteria to ferment it that would cause the rise. I'm just using some modern baking soda. Let's get this blended. I blended that for a couple of minutes, so let's take a look. We want it to be as smooth as it can, kind of like a pancake batter. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we're gonna get it into our pan. I have my pan greased with some coconut oil. I find that coconut oil does the best job of keeping things from sticking. I tried this when I was doing a little experimentation with just olive oil, and so do not skip this step. Also, we want to dust with some almond flour. So definitely do that, or use some parchment paper, but don't skip it, or else it will end up like this. So I'm putting on a nice thick coat of almond. I got so into, well, I'm not using almonds for this recipe, and if you can't use almonds, find something else, or like I said, use some parchment paper, but I defeated my purpose by letting the bread stick. So I'm using some coconut oil and some almond flour to keep it from sticking, just like I did with the Lois Lang bread in the first video. Now I'm gonna pour my batter in. So this is gonna bake at 350 degrees. We're gonna do it for 45 minutes and see if it is done. While our bread bakes, let's talk a little more about Hippocrates.
This ancient collection of Greek cures, penned by Hippocrates himself.
Remember I said in the beginning he didn't say those words? But when we talk about Hippocrates, we're really talking about one big idea: balance. So he believed that health depended on harmony between 4 humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile.
Ah! By the flaming beard of Hippocrates!
Each humor had qualities, hot or cold, moist or dry. Too much or too little of any one of them threw the body out of balance. When they were in harmony, you had what he called eucrasia, good mixture. When they weren't, it was dyscrasia, illness. Blood was warm and moist, too much and you ran hot or inflamed. Phlegm was cold and wet, too much and you felt sluggish and heavy. Yellow bile was hot and dry, which is anger, heat, and heartburn. Black bile was cold and dry, which would cause melancholy, constipation, and fatigue. I know it sounds a little gross, but it's also so familiar. Inflammation, sluggish digestion, stress, fatigue, it's all the same language that we use today when we talk about balance and the microbiome. It's the same principles we talk about with a holistic approach to health and balance. The Greeks believed you could influence your health and those humors through food, environment, and lifestyle. Too much heat, eat cooling foods. Too much dryness, add moisture and oils. It's the same principles we use today to calm inflammation and support digestion. It's been 35 minutes and I checked on this and it looked like it was getting pretty brown. So I wanted to check the middle of it, see if it's done already. All right, so that's totally clean. There's just a little crumb on there, but it's not wet. So I'm gonna let this cool in the pan for about 15 minutes and then we'll take it out to let it cool the rest of the way. It looks great though. Rose way more than I thought I was going to. So it looks great. It's not burnt, it's just a little bit darker brown on top. So we'll let it cool off a little bit. In addition to healthy habits like exercise, Hippocrates paired foods intentionally to bring people back into balance. If someone was overheated and anxious, he might suggest cooling fruits like apples or cucumbers or soothing dairy like yogurt. If someone was cold and weak, he recommended warming oily foods like fish, nuts, and olive oil. Each meal was a kind of medicine cabinet. Warm balancing cold and moist balancing dry, or vice versa. Here's my own plate that I made with an example of that philosophy in my kitchen. On this plate, each food connects to the idea of balance. Lentils and olive oil ground and nourish, which is perfect for dryness. Salmon provides warmth and strength. Cucumber and apple cool inflammation and calm heat. Figs nourish and restore, and almonds add gentle warmth and energy. Even the olive oil and the honey tie everything together for harmonizing opposites, bitter and sweet. It wasn't a superstition, it was an early way of understanding the same balance between the systems that we talk about today and the gut and brain and immune system response. That the gut and brain and body all work together. And so that is what Hippocrates meant when we paraphrase his words into saying all disease begins in the gut and let food be thy medicine. That is what he wrote about and studied. He did a lot of studies. He studied people as much as he could with, no modern equipment. He studied everything he could about health. All right, let's get it out of the pan. And hopefully I have better luck than last time. First I'm gonna loosen it up, actually. Oh, okay, so it looks really much better. I can feel that it's not totally stuck on the bottom. I don't think so. Here we go. Perfect. Yes. Okay. There we go. Very nice, right? I'm going to let it cool the rest of the way before I slice it. So I'm going to let it cool for like an hour before I slice it. Well, we let our bread cool. Let's talk about why I'm using lentils to make this bread. Ancient grains like einkorn and emmer were very different from the wheat that we eat today. Einkorn had just 14 chromosomes. Modern wheat has 42. That's 3 times as many, which doesn't make it bad. But those extra chromosomes created more complex gluten proteins and in higher yields, which make that grain harder for some of us to digest. Hippocrates used, and the ancient Greeks used what grew naturally around them. Simple foods that the body recognizes, and lentils have stayed unchanged for thousands of years. They're rich in protein and fiber and naturally gluten-free, so they nourish our beneficial gut bacteria without those inflammatory compounds that are found in modern wheat. So that is why I'm using lentils. And this bread in a way honors those old principles while using the ingredient in a completely different way, keeping them close to their natural form because they are not processed and refined like wheat. Bread is cooled, so we are going to slice it and then we're going to try it. All right, there we go. Very nice crumb on this bread. Look at that. Very nice. It's a little bit moist. It's not going to be, dry like as dry as regular bread. All our grain-free breads are a little moister than regular bread, but it looks really good, so I can't wait to try it. All right, let's give it a try. I like this bread. So it's not as moist as I thought it was going to be from looking at it. It's nice and it's got a very nice texture. Tender, but not wet, and also not too dry, because it is meant with lentils and they can get kind of dry, but we put the olive oil in there and the vinegar. So I think that really helped it. I like this bread because it's not super lentil-y. I think it would make a great sandwich. So I'm gonna try it for some different things and see how it is. But I'm really happy with it. I would definitely make this again. And it was really easy. Like I said, I ended up making 2 batches because I was experimenting, and the first one stuck, and I kept that bread, but it wasn't as pretty as this one. But it was really easy to make, actually. You just gotta put everything in the food processor and grind it up and pour it in the pan. Super easy. So very happy with this. Would definitely make it again. And I hope we learned something about the 4 humors and how that applies to what we think about gut health today. In the next episode, I'm going to be making my own butter, which I'm super excited about. I've never done it before. So see you in the next one. If you like this, please give it a like and leave a comment and let me know what you think, and let me know if you try this bread. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. See you next time on Kitchen Alchemy.